The supermarket retailer Sainsbury's ruffled some feathers over the weekend after releasing a statement announcing the company's support for Black History Month. Sainsbury's said, "We're proud to celebrate Black History Month together with our black colleagues, customers and communities, and we will not tolerate racism." Good stuff. The supermarket also announced on its website that it would be providing black members of staff with a safe space to gather in response to the Black Lives Matter movement. This led Laurence Fox to claim that he was boycotting the company whilst it promoted segregation and discrimination. This is what he said on Julia Hartley-Brewer's breakfast show.
And then you've got supermarkets saying that they're bringing in segregated racial spaces, which is basically saying if black people need a safe space at Sainsbury's, then the implication therefore is they need to be kept safe from white people. And that I thought we dealt with in the civil rights movement.
Let's speak with Dominique Samuels, president of the Orthodox Conservative Group, and Weyman Bennett, co-convenor of Stand Up to Racism. Afternoon to you, Weyman. Yeah. First of all,
hi.
So are we speaking in safe spaces here? Are we segregated? Do you need a white saviour? Good afternoon.
Well, let's be clear. What the safe spaces mean is a space where people can discuss Black history, and it's very clear to people if they're racist, they shouldn't participate. That's about it. It's a governed space in which people just understand that people are celebrating Black History Month, and I think that's a positive thing. It's a step forward.
Why has it got a safe space then? Why has it got a safe space? I don't think
it's
not got history in mind, is it? Safe spaces aren't really defined by history lessons.
No, what it means is there's a hostility towards racism in those spaces, so that if you go in there and say it's just my point of view, like Laurence Fox, I don't believe he does any shopping. He sends his servant to do a shopping for him.
It's a bit classist, that, isn't it? Goodness me.
Well, I'm just describing his position.
Very classist. You think he's got a servant? Well, because he's a white bloke who speaks with a nice accent. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying,
Weyman, you're better than this fellow.
I'm sure that as a public school educated and well-paid person as he is, he may do his own cleaning and his own washing, but I'm just saying sincerely, I doubt it. So I bet he doesn't know that. I bet he hasn't been to Sainsbury's in his life, to be honest. I'm just surprised.
Actors don't go shopping.
Actors do go shopping, but he's a wealthy actor. Let's just be honest about that. His father gave him a lot of money, and he's fine. Silver spoons are. I
once saw the actor Christopher Casanova, who was in Dynasty, in Sainsbury's, oddly, at Waterloo. So I do know that they do go shopping.
Well, I know actors that go to Sainsbury's. I'm just
Laurence
decrying.
That doesn't. Okay, no, I understand. It's a gentle jibe. Look, come on. Do you need a safe space? Why? What is this collective talk of all black people need a safe space? All black people need to be looked after by white people, by the sounds of this, and it's segregation, isn't it? That's Laurence Fox's point.
No, he's actually wrong about that. What they mean by that is that they're making it very, very clear to people that there's a space where they can discuss Black history, and there's a hostility towards racism. The same thing happened with LGBT month. There was a place where people could celebrate LGBT month. This is a good thing. The same thing.
But they weren't. So this wasn't about. I don't think. I mean, I stand to be corrected, Weyman, but not aware that Sainsbury's talk about safe spaces as a place to discuss Black history.
Yeah, that's not true.
Dominique Samuels. Let's bring Dominique in on this. Dominique Samuels, president of the Orthodox Conservative Group. What are you making of this, Dominique? Afternoon.
Sorry, just to clarify, I'm no longer president of the Orthodox Conservatives.
Okay.
I should have raised that beforehand.
It's all right. No worries.
But yeah, as you said, no, really, it wasn't about creating a safe space so that Black people can discuss Black History Month. I think that if that really were the case, far less people would actually have had a problem with it. The issue was that Sainsbury said that it was creating a safe space for Black people in response to the Black Lives Matter movement. Now, for me and many Black really conservatives that I've seen, we personally see this as sort of an infantilization of Black people, in the sense that we're so ruled by our emotions that we need these separate spaces away from Black people to discuss these things. By definition, that is segregation, because you are separating a smaller group, presumably the oppressed group, from a larger, more dominant group. And for me, I just don't see how this is conducive. I think it's just another example of importing ideas that America brought up and bringing them here to the UK. On a side note, though, I would say, although I personally haven't experienced large amounts of racism in the workplace, I do think a fair amount of Black people, I think 29% of Black Caribbeans, have reported that they have experienced racism in the workplace. So if this is something that Black employees actually want, then fair enough. But I don't see how this is actually going to further the conversation, because I think what you will see is Black people internalize these discussions more rather than it being something that everybody can be involved in to actually further the conversation. And I think what's important to look at is Sainsbury's doing this for a genuine reason, or is it doing it to basically market itself and profit from the Black Lives Matter movement and Black History Month? Because if you actually look at their senior management, there's not actually one Black person on there, yet they claim to be so woke and so self-righteous over everybody else. I just think it's a bit disingenuous.
Okay, Weyman, infantilizing Black people.
Well, I personally think that when we've got such levels of racism in our society, I mean, the Prime Minister described Black people as grinning pickaninnies, the Conservative Prime Minister.
He didn't.
As grinning. Well, he actually wrote inside the Spectator. He said with watermelon smile.
He attributed he attributed words to Tony Blair.
I'm really no.
I mean, if I'm writing about a football hooligan, I might have some answer. No, but it's just important to get it out there rather than repeating a lie on national radio. Okay.
No, I wouldn't say it's a lie. I think it's a description. It's because actually it's easy. It's very hard to get up and oppose racism in this society because it's such a prevalent thing. It's colonially integrated into our society.
We have such little racism. We have such little racism in our country now, Weyman.
I've worked in a shop. Probably on this panel, I'm probably the only one that's actually, maybe I'm wrong, but I've worked in a shop.
I worked in a shop, but I'm a white guy.
Good,
we've all worked in a shop. We've got 100% hit rate on shops. Come on.
I'm saying I faced racism inside the shop, right? And I think it's good. When I faced racism inside the shop, people said, don't dry your eyes, get on with it, right? Stiff upper lip. Right, so what I'm trying to say, there's a denial about racism in our society. Actually, I could have progressed as a manager if I just accepted the idea. It's nothing to do with what culture.
Who said to you, though, when you reported racism, who said to you stiff upper lip? Because I've never worked anywhere where anyone would say to an employee who'd reported being racially abused by a customer or whatever, I've never worked anywhere where a boss would say that to an employee in my lifetime.
Okay, can I just refer you to USDOR, the union, that had a special meeting about discrimination at work, which is well documented. It's well worth having a look at it. And
I'm not disputing your experience for 1 second, Weyman.
Not my experience. I'm thinking one of the things that comes across as being what's happening is that people are trying to grapple with how to challenge racism in society. Now, the idea, Sainsbury's doesn't get it 100% right. That may well be the case. I'm not supporting of the corporate machinery of doing that, of selling goods in order to do that. What I am saying is that it is a problem that when people try and talk about racism, there's such a reaction against it that you say that there's something wrong. Do you mean? They just protest too much.
All right, Dominique, you come back on this.
Yeah, no, I don't dispute that people experience racism in the workplace because I actually did a bit of reading up on it. But I think it's the way in which you actually go about tackling it. So say, for example, creating segregated spaces for Black people away from white people, whilst it seems well-intended, what it actually does is promote that kind of separation when we should be discussing these things together. There's loads of examples in America where they actually started it. And there was even, segregated spaces at universities, segregated living accommodation, and they've even started segregated Black-only parks. So it seems as if, whilst they're saying it's progressive, things seem to be going backwards. And I think that's what people are actually talking about.
Okay.
Of course, I appreciate Sainsbury's wanting to celebrate Black History Month, but then to add that Black people need safe spaces away from white people, I don't know, I just think it sounds patronising, and I'm wondering what kind of reaction they were hoping to get. I feel like this is something they were expecting with the tone of the
All right, Dominique, we have to stop there for time. Thank you, Dominique Samuels. Also, Weyman Bennett. Always good to have Weyman on, co-convenor of Stand Up to Racism. And you could, of course, for the word black, you could put that to any minority group. We're talking whether it's a religious issue, whether it's about sexuality. Does everybody need some kind of safe space, a go-to place where they feel safe from the wicked oppressors? And do they need white people to set these up for them? Is this, as Dominique said, infantilizing people of colour in this respect? 03